Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Heroic Efforts. Thank you for joining us all once again for more punishment. I am, of course, Andy Foreman, and I am sitting here with Mr. Martin Fisher.
Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're going to talk about one of the strangest movies I think we've ever talked about on this channel.
Yes, and joining us, as always, for that conversation as well is Mr. Nick Talamante.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? As you may notice, we're finally past it. We finally got enough budget to buy a brand new mic for me after my last one took a shit. So now we're back in crispy audio goodness. So apologize, everybody, for the tin can I was recording out of, but now we should sound like 94.7 The Wave.
Oh.
Ooh, and that is no better time than for talking about Punisher Warzone.
Oh, God. Out of all the fucking...
You gotta upgrade.
Quality.
You gotta upgrade.
This is the one that deserves it. Fuck.
Yeah, you gotta upgrade for this one. It's not Captain America 1990. It's
not Hulk, you know.
It's not good.
Not Nosferatu. It's Punisher Warzone. But yes, everybody, you clicked on the video. You know what we're talking about. We are talking about that weird little... probably should have been direct-to-video Punisher movie from 2008. We talked about Thomas Jane's Punisher last week, so now it's only fair that we talk about Ray Stevenson's Punisher, and sort of go over what worked, what didn't, and how we feel about it almost 2 decades later. But in order to talk about this, we should set the tone just a little bit, because this was right in the explosion of Garth Ennis's Punisher Max series. It had taken the comics world by storm, incredibly popular. The Punisher had never been done better. And we did mention this on the Thomas Jane one, but when Thomas Jane Punisher was made, it was still kind of kicking off. It still was that early Marvel Knights, Welcome Back Frank era. Now we're in Punisher Max territory, where Garth Ennis is doing comics that aren't even in Marvel continuity. Like, Frank Castle, as I understand it, like, it's been a while since I've read them, but Frank Castle, as I understand it in Max, is still a Vietnam War veteran, but in contemporary America. So he's like 60 years old at that point?
Yeah.
Am I getting that right?
Yeah, no, he is. Yes, he's older, grizzled Frank Castle, who has been in Vietnam, who has gone through the shit, has been fighting his war already for like 30-something years, I think, at this point.
Yeah.
Yes. And in order to contextualize that, that means that Garth Ennis can do really whatever he wants in those comics. So you're getting some of the most grisly, fucked up, violent, funny comics. And certainly, as I said just a few minutes ago, The Punisher had never been better. So when Punisher 2 started to sizzle out, and Thomas Jane leaves, and Jonathan Hensleigh leaves, but they still want to make a Punisher movie, it kind of gets retrofitted into this reboot that honestly just kind of feels like a sequel, that uses all basically the main plot points, but what it does is it tries to get the tone way closer to the Punisher Max comics, which we can talk about that for better and worse, the results. But we should talk about just, do you guys remember when this was coming out? Because we were pretty young when this was hitting theaters.
I don't personally. This flew completely under my radar. Like, I mean, I'm sure I probably saw it around this time, especially when it got finally into like stores, like for home video. But this like just had no impact on me. I don't remember this at all. And this is around the time too. Oh wait, where I was starting to like become a little more like sentient, as a person.
Yeah.
So like I start to remember things like, I remember Incredible Hulk, I remember Transformers, I remember Iron Man, I remember like Ghost Rider, like I remember all the big blockbusters coming around this time. Don't fucking recall at all this Punisher movie.
Yeah,
that's because it's not a blockbuster.
Yeah, trying to think back, because I'm the oldest one here, and even then I'm like, I don't really remember seeing any advertisements for this, really. I maybe saw a billboard in LA, and that was about it. They barely marketed this movie, and it's kind of funny to see that, like, even in 2008, Lionsgate still had no idea how to advertise any movie that they released. They had no idea how to release anything properly, to the degree that, like, I think this movie came out like a week after they had just also released Transporter 3, so like they were fucking themselves over anyway. But yeah, they just dumped this out as quickly as possible just to move on, essentially. And I think by the time it had come out, Marvel had gotten the rights back for Punisher anyway.
Yes, and that's the thing is we'll have Nick break down the plot in just 1 second, but I would like to point out that Punisher Warzone is basically what Punisher 2 with Thomas Jane was going to be. It's in a far more urban, gritty environment. It's a lot nastier. It's got Jigsaw as a villain. It's trying to hearken closer and closer to the violence of the comics. It's just, it doesn't actually 100% connect to the original. But even as a kid, I looked at this and just went, oh, it's just a Punisher sequel, but someone else is playing the Punisher.
Yes.
It really does feel like that.
It feels exactly like Incredible Hulk and like Ghost Rider and Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance, where it's like, oh, this is just a sequel to the last one. It's just maybe the cast is a little different and maybe they tweak some parts of the origin a little bit to be different, but it is basically just a sequel.
Yes, if they had cast someone else as Johnny Blaze in Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance, it would 100% be the same situation, because it kind of follows the first one, but it's far enough away aesthetically and at least plot-wise that you can call it a reboot. But for God's sakes, Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance is just a sequel, and this is basically just a sequel. Again, if Hugh Jackman had been recast for the Wolverine, it would have been the same thing as well, where it might as well just be a sequel, but tonally it's different, and they're trying to distance themselves. It's very much like that. So it's the Wolverine, Superman Returns, The Incredible Hulk, Ghost Rider 2, all these ones where the first one was successful enough for a follow-up, but it wasn't successful enough for direct follow-up.
Yes. And the way to look at it, in my opinion, when you watch the movie is to essentially be like, okay, Punisher was essentially like his lead up into becoming the character. Warzone does pick up on that maxing, like, okay, he's been doing this for a while now, so he's a bigger, beefier version who just has no remorse whatsoever anymore. So in the same way that Ghost Rider, the Ghost Rider films are very much, okay, now he's Ghost Rider, and then Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance is, okay, now he's like in Europe and he's so sick of this shit. So
Exactly.
Yeah. So, Nick, if you want to break down the plot for us, it'll probably take 2 seconds because there is no plot to this movie.
At all.
God be with you, Frank.
Sometimes I'd like to get my hands on God.
Punisher Warzone.
Yeah, so just long story short. So we open up, like the boys have been mentioning so far, this is kind of like set in the future. So this is already long past. I believe in the film they say that Frank's been at this for the last 5 years. So his family's already been like massacred. He's already started his war against like the criminal families in the city. And long story short, he's trying to kill what will become Jigsaw. And in the process, there's an undercover FBI agent, and Frank accidentally blows him away. Frank feels immense guilt about this. He even shows up at the funeral. He sees like the now widowed wife and child of the FBI agent, and he tries to make amends, and that just kind of puts him in a funk. And from there, Jigsaw, starts his whole kind of comeback, first with his plastic surgery, and then
you gotta pronounce it right. Jigsaw.
Jigsaw. Yeah, I will get to the wops in this film for sure. I will get to them in a second because I got some strong thoughts. But Jigsaw, he busts out his crazy ass brother, Looney Bin Jim, and I'll get to them.
Looney Bin Jim.
Looney Bin Jim. And they bust him out, and now this little, crime causing duo starts. Yeah, it's a different kind of movie. Can you imagine
the crime causers? Get out of the way. The crime causers are on.
I will be. We'll get to them in a second, but I'll be the first to say I fucking love them. I wish they did have their own movie. But anywho, so Jigsaw and Looney Bin Jim, they go on their little revenge tour. Meanwhile, Frank is trying his best to get at them, and there's this whole little subplot that means nothing about this FBI agent who comes to town trying to put an end to the Punisher's vigilantism and also stop Jigsaw. And long story short, there's a headhunt for Frank as he's also trying to hunt down Jigsaw, and that culminates in the wife and child being kidnapped. Frank saves them. Frank, regains a little bit of his humanity, looking after this small child, small autistic child, and being like, reminds me of my girl, but more special, if you know what I mean. And then
does he say that in this movie? Because that sounds like I was gonna say that is something he would say. Did I forget
that is what Punisher Max Frank would say. Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
He does not. He just kind of alludes to it. He just kind of tells the wife at one point, just like, does she like trains? But
snow globe.
yeah, he shows the snow globe, so that's probably it. But anyway, they get kidnapped. Frank kills a bunch of fucking people in the process. Newman shows up, and he's like his gun guy. And then by the end of the film, Newman gets taken. The wife gets, Newman gets fucking blown away. And then Frank saves the day by murdering not just one, but all of the city's minorities, all in one place. And then he walks away. At the end of the film, we have the dopey ass fan cop who's been working with Frank the last few years, and he's just like, he goes on this whole screed about me personally, I just don't believe in the death penalty. I think people have a chance to rehabilitate. And then he gets fucking mugged by some obese white man who comes up to him. He's just like, "Hey, motherfucker!" It literally says it just like that. And then Frank, ends the film by blowing that guy away in a pretty cool shot, I guess.
Yes.
Although a bit on the fucking nose, like a broken nose. And long story short, Frank shows up, takes out the trash, kills a bunch of fucking people, kills all the minorities, and then we're left with the moral that sometimes it's good to kill them.
Sometimes
that's at least what this film's giving me.
Sometimes they deserve it.
Sometimes they had it fucking coming. Don't matter what you are. You could be a fucking wop. You could be a Chinese. You could be a black guy. You could be anybody. You could get blown the fuck away is where you can be.
You could be the thing that he said about the Muslims in Queens. I'm not going to say the word that he uses.
Oh my god, yeah, that's insane.
Using it.
Okay, since we're already getting into our accents, can I just point out? Can you tell this movie was made when The Sopranos was the biggest thing in pop culture? Oh my god. This movie isn't reheating The Sopranos as leftovers. It is getting the fucking dollar store version, like the store brand Sopranos, leaving it out on the counter for a few nights, then heating it back up.
Every fucking mafia member in this movie just looks like every background extra in The Sopranos you've ever seen, but now they're given dialogue.
Wait a minute, hold on. Now that we're on this point, I've been bottling this up all fucking movie because it's been driving me insane. And I told you I'd get to the wops. All right, look, there is, with this exception of maybe Jigsaw and the old Italian Don in the beginning of the film, that's it has the shit bag and he's being wheeled around. Yeah, he's like, and that guy, with the exception of those two, there's not a single fucking Italian in this whole goddamn movie.
No.
Every Marty just said, these are backgrounds of The Sopranos. I disagree, brother. There's not a single fucking Mediterranean in this whole goddamn film. It was driving me insane that all these guys are doing bad accents. They're doing bad fucking Brooklyn Mamma Mia ass accents, but there's not a single fucking Italian. And I'm not even saying they need to be real Italians. They need to look like Italians. What pisses me off the most, I'm sorry, I gotta vent this out, the son. So we have Jigsaw, we have one of his right hand men, one of his goons, and then that one
who looks like Tony Soprano.
Yes.
Who looks like Tony Soprano. I'll give him that. Okay, he kind of gets closer. He still looks a little too fucking Midwestern to me, but he looks a little bit closer to it, right? He brings his son along, and I'm like, okay, and they have a fun dynamic. As characters, they have a fun dynamic. It's a father-son. I kind of like them. The son, who is this metrosexual fucking Slav with the badly dyed black hair in his Abercrombie and Finch 2005 ass outfit. Who the fuck is this guy? He looks nothing he doesn't even look like he could be a background extra on the fucking Sopranos. I'm like, buddy, you look like you should be doing fucking house music in some backwater in Europe. What the fuck are you doing here?
He looks like if Zach Bagans never got introduced to steroids. That's what he looks like.
That hairline too.
And the wig or the like badly dyed hair, I'm like, motherfucker. As someone with black hair, I'm like, you ain't got that shit on. That ain't real. That ain't real fucking black hair. Get out of here.
This is what happens when you film a New York mafia movie in Canada.
Kidding. It's so funny because I don't know why we're talking about the two right-hand men before we even talk about the Punisher, but this is going to be all over the place, just like this movie. That Tony Soprano-looking dude and his son, who is a drug addict, are clearly just rip-offs of Tony Soprano and Christopher Moltisanti. Yeah. It's like whoever wrote that, I forget exactly who this script, if you could call it that, is attributed to, but they just watched The Sopranos and they're like, okay, sort of middle-aged bruiser guy and drug addict 20-year-old. That's the mob dynamic we're gonna go for.
God, yeah, it's Aside from that, I do want to say I really enjoy if the first Punisher film, the Thomas Jane one, if it suffered from not having enough. Yeah, not enough goons. This film definitely compensates for it. I think there's so many fun little side characters, even as they're briefly in there. I think that they're all really, really fun.
Like Carlos, the ex-gangbanger who just talks in the most annoying fucking fake accent you've ever heard.
All right, since we're gonna keep this train going. We're going to keep this train going. I'm going to start popping off about that too. Let's talk about Carlos for 2 seconds. Fuck Carlos. All right. Straight up. Fuck Carlos. Carlos he's supposed to be this ex-fool. You know what I mean? He was this cholo that was locked up. Now he's gone straight and he's working with Newman. But he's two things about Carlos. Actually, 3. 1, my man has got a big ass head. I'm sorry, I can never be intimidated by any fool, no matter how down. His socks could be up to his neck, but his head is so fucking big that beanie is just it just sits on it weird. 2, he's supposed to be intimidating. Everybody's Newman literally says in the film, they see the tattoos and they just take off running. And then you get a multiple close up of his face. He doesn't have teardrops. He has just 3 dots.
Yeah,
but they're not teardrops. So it's just I thought he just had moles. I was like, "Hey, bro, you got some eczema on there. Those are birthmarks or something. It don't
it
look
like the Predator is aiming at him."
Yeah, it just has these sweet little pins. I was like, "What the fuck?" And then 2, as Marty said, his accent, his voice. I'm like, "Yo, you got the most." You must have a foreigner. I'm being so real. This guy must not be from anywhere near America or anywhere in the southwest United States or Mexico, let alone, because his attempt to sound like a fool, to sound hard like a cholo, it's just hey, you're Frank, yo, fuck you, cracker. It doesn't even I'm sorry, that even sounds I think more weirdly Hispanic than this guy does. It's just he has the weirdest fucking voice. The accent he's attempting to go for just sounds so weird. I'm like, is this another one of these fucking Canadians? I swear to God, if I find out this guy was a Canadian that they just brought on, it's hey, pretend to be a East LA cholo, and he's just okay, hey fool, you better break yourself, yeah. That's what it felt like.
Freaking Eli Wallach in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is a more convincing Latino than this dude.
I don't mean to I'm not trying to diminish or take away the guy's heritage if he actually is Hispanic, but it's in terms of what he's trying to portray, it don't work at all.
That's my exact point. Yeah. No, it's so fucking funny.
But you know what portrayal does work, in my opinion? Jigsaw.
Jigsaw.
Mr. Dominic West of England, chewing it.
We should talk about Ray Stevenson as the Punisher, given that this is the Punisher film.
I'm eating Reese's Pieces while we're doing this, by the way. I don't give a shit. It's fucking Punisher Warzone.
Yeah, whatever.
Well, Andy, I have my own thoughts on it. Why don't you kind of let us know, how do you feel about Ray Stevenson's portrayal?
I think he's perfect, but he's stuck in this movie. That's the problem. And I think that's he looks exactly like the Punisher.
Yep.
I think he's given extremely poor direction. I think his character is extremely poorly written. And I think that he is underserved by the fact that this movie is trying to be funny, and he's supposed to be the straight man in all of this, and none of it's funny. So he really just comes off as sort of a what if kind of casting, where there's various other actors that have sort of fallen into this unfortunate area, whether it's David Harbour as Hellboy, or but we could Brandon Routh as Superman, whatever, where you're like, oh my god, this guy would be perfect as this. Of course this is who you would get as this character. But unfortunately, they're in a movie that does not utilize their skills whatsoever. And it's really unfortunate that the Punisher is kind of relegated to just being the straight man in his own movie, which, I mean, he is in the comics, but the problem is the comics, it's not really like the villains are even really that funny very often. They're often incredibly grotesque people whose fates are really funny. Right. And that's the difference.
Yeah, I'm not... Yeah. I like Ray Stevenson as an actor. I've enjoyed his work. Rest in peace. I wish he got more in this, because he physically perfectly encapsulates what Punisher Max Frank Castle is. He's got it down fucking pat.
Slick back hair. The only thing I don't like is that big collar on his
little
on his suit. Like,
whatever. It's just it doesn't fit. Yeah.
I get that's probably tactically advantageous, probably, but like, come on.
So he's got the physicality down. The stunt work that is present that he does do is really well done. I'm very impressed by it. But yeah, his performance is very wooden, and I can only probably very likely blame that on the direction. The material he's given is not good, and because of that, he has no range whatsoever. He's not given anything with the character, any range at all. The closest you get to that is like the brief, quick flashback sequences of his family and when they're dead, and that's it. Everything else throughout the movie is just this flat monotone, even when he's talking to the little girl. It's just
I must punish the corrupt. Yeah. It's really unfortunate, because I will say, if this just look at the direction that the comedic actors in this were probably given and how that turned out. Yeah. Just imagine the direction he's given as the straight man, and that's why it turned out this way. Mm-hmm. It's just every archetype, for lack of a better term, that the characters are supposed to be in this movie is wildly off.
Yeah, I agree. I think, so straight up, I don't really care for him as Punisher. I think I agree with you boys that he looks perfect. There's some shots in this where it straight up looks like the cover of like Welcome Home Frank, or Welcome Back Frank. Like just the way that the shadows cast over his like thick brow and everything like that with his slick back hair. I think he like physically looks amazing as the Punisher for the most part, even though I'm not crazy about the costume. Mainly, I think Andy's absolutely right. The collar is way too much, regardless of tactfulness. What about tactical? You know what I mean? What about the rule of cool?
Yeah.
Because this is a fucking movie, folks. We don't need him to be like tactically accurate. And also like the Punisher skull on his like vest. I don't even think we really see it until the very end, if memory serves right.
It's on there, but it's so light.
It's so light and faded.
I was gonna say I actually like how faded it is, because there are certain scenes in the Thomas Jane one where it's like, oh, that's way too clear. It looks like like as clear and crisp as like the Go-Go Boot Punisher from Amazing Spider-Man.
I get where you're coming from. I like that, actually. I want his skull to stand out, because if you don't make it stand out, what's going to happen is you're going to have this movie where it fades, and sometimes it doesn't even look like it has it on, or if it does, it looks like a dark reflection of it, where the white is like completely gone because whatever light they're using on it is not interacting well with it at all. It gets rid of the most iconic part of Punisher, the visual iconic part, at least, of the character.
Yeah, I'm not crazy about the costume design overall. And frankly, I'm not really crazy about the costumes in general in the film, with the exception of Jigsaw. Also, like, again, I agree with Marty. I like Ray Stevenson as an actor, R.I.P. I think he's fun in a lot of other stuff he's in. But, normally I'd never complain about the Irish. I love the Irish. I love the accent. Unfortunately for this, through a combination of, I think, just a really shitty script and bad direction, and maybe Mr. Stevenson just not really knowing what to do with it, he's always sounded off to me, whether when I watched this film, with Andy way back when, or when I watched upon this rewatch today. Like, for me, it comes off not only his performance a little stilted, but like his accent, he just can't escape it. It's this weird. He's trying to be like this Brooklyn, like grizzled, hard, almost like Clint Eastwood from Brooklyn kind of vibe. But it sounds. I can pick up on it. I'm like, I hear your fucking accent peeking through, dude. Like it doesn't. It just sounds extra. It makes the lines and the dialogue sound extra weird.
He's gritting the whole time, and when he's doing that, his accent is still peeking through, which means he just can't get over it. It's whatever. Some actors are able to, and some aren't. But you play to those strengths. Unfortunately, you could have given him probably half the lines he actually has in this movie, and he would have been able to probably turn in a stronger visual performance with less dialogue, honestly.
And I will say one last thing. I completely agree with Marty. All of that being said, I think he does a great job when he needs to for actually delivering emotion. Like I think he does a wonderful job for the flashback sequences when he's like breaking down, or like when he's holding his dead family in his arms. Like he looks great there. All right, everything else I could care less about, but those specific moments, I think he does a great job.
I was going to say, because as you guys were saying that, I was looking at pictures of him as the Punisher on Google Images, and it was just sort of bringing back memories of his performance and stuff. You know what he would be great as, in terms of portraying the Punisher? He would make an excellent Punisher in an ensemble cast movie with the Punisher as a supporting character, because he's great as playing, like, the urban legend that is the Punisher, not so much like a character that's supposed to lead a whole movie, but like just hypothetically,
if he's the Punisher that's interacting with a hypothetical Daredevil and Spider-Man in a movie, it works. It would work.
Yes, I was going to say that hypothetically, imagine they actually adapted the Civil War comic, and that part where Peter Parker just is almost dead, and the Punisher carries him in, and he's like, "Get a medic now!" Or like the Captain America's beating the shit out of him, and he's like, "Fight back!" And he's like, "Not against you." Ray Stevenson would be perfect for that, because he could deliver those little moments, and he looks like exactly what people who are afraid of the Punisher thinks the Punisher looks like. If you were to tell a police sketch artist what the Punisher looks like, this is what he would look like. So if he were a supporting character in a movie with a different tone, and you just brought this version of him in as this again, the urban legend that is the Punisher, totally works. Carrying it as the main character doesn't. His portrayal just doesn't work.
And that is why, for me, he is not the main character of this movie. It is someone else. There is another.
Tell him, Marty. Tell him, Marty.
Fucking Jigsaw. If you want to talk about someone that can get over their accent, this man is from fucking Sheffield, England, and I just could only hear the cartoonish Italian coming out of him.
Let me just make it clear for you, in case your hearing's going with all your other bodily functions. I got the shit in the bag! And again, it's like, okay, there's Uncle Junior, there's Tony Soprano, there's Chris. It's like every single Sopranos character has like a shit-ass Dollar Tree version of them in here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I every time I watch this movie, I know every single time I've seen it, and I've seen this probably over 10 times, honestly.
Oh, that doesn't surprise me. Probably me. Honestly, probably me too.
Probably. Dominic West is such a fucking ham in this movie. I love it so much, because nothing else he's ever been in has this level of cheese in it to that degree of his performance. He is always the straight man in everything else he does. So to see him be able to just let the fuck loose, it's so fucking fun, because he chews up every fucking scene he is in. That scene near the end where he's recruiting all the gang members, I'm fucking
dude, wait, Marty, we have to save that. That has to be its own dedicated segment. I'm sorry. That scene, I was like levitating when I saw that.
He's wonderful.
He's the best part.
He's the best version of whatever villain would have been in Schumacher's third Batman movie. He fits right in with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Uma Thurman.
Absolutely.
And he particularly fits in with Uma Thurman because he knows what he's doing.
Yes.
He absolutely knows what type of movie he's in. And he's like, okay, if this was the 80s, this would just go straight to video. And this would be on the shelf next to Invasion USA. And it would be made by Canon, which, arguably Lionsgate is the modern day Canon. But
Yeah,
But,
I completely agree.
This is a performance where the Punisher throws him into a fucking like glass recycling machine and turns it on.
Fuck you,
And
Castle!
all he's saying is "fuck you, Castle, fuck you," as he's going down.
Oh, Pitsy! Oh, my fucking face! Oh.
It's incredible. I love Jigsaw. He's so good in this.
Far be it for me to say that this movie did anything better than any of the other Punisher adaptations, but my God, look at what they did with Jigsaw in the Punisher Netflix show, and then look at what they did with him here, and it's like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
As someone that loves the Punisher Netflix show, I was so fucking disappointed in what they did with Jigsaw, because I'm just like, oh, he's got some scars on his face, but no, he's fractured internally now. And fuck you. No, at the end of season 1, they smash his face into glass and drag it down repeatedly, and they're like, oh, he's got a little light scarring because you got to make sure you can see the actor's face. Not Mr. West. No, he's like, yeah, fuck it, fucking cover half of my eye up with a skin flap, Jonah Hex style, or fucking sew skin that looks different from my actual skin color on here and call it horsehide or whatever. Like,
yeah, when the doctor says I put horsehide on your face, it's like, what kind of fucking doctor are you going to, buddy? Like,
I love that because he goes like, oh yeah, and some horsehide, and he goes like, what did you put on me?
Yeah. Dude, I cannot stress enough, like, this film would be insufferable, frankly, without Dominic West and Doug Hutchison as Jigsaw and Looney Bin Jim, respectively, because these two, frankly, I'm sorry, these two steal the fucking show.
Yes.
Like, Punisher just kind of happens to be here, but as far as I'm concerned, this is a Jigsaw and LBJ movie, baby. Like,
I have to half agree with you, Nick. Looney Bin Jim is like almost intolerable.
No,
no,
I'm sorry.
dude.
He is like intolerable.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yummy, yummy, yummy in my tummy. He is part of the fun.
He's amazing. I love Looney Bin Jim. He is so fucking like just insane. Just insane.
I felt the connection where he goes,
yes,
where fucking Jigsaw's starting to like cry because he sees himself and he's like, everywhere I go,
that's a great scene.
In my face. And he goes like, brother, as long as you're with me, you'll never have to see your reflection again. And he just starts fucking wailing on all the mirrors around. I'm like, that's more impactful than anything I've seen in like Captain America: Brave New World.
100%.
That is a great scene.
Yes.
Yeah, the emotional connection in that scene, as goofy as it fucking is, and it's like absurd. But like that brotherly bond, he's just like, don't worry, brother. When you're with me, you'll never have to see your reflection. And he literally throws himself at a fucking mirror, and then they keep that. And the best part, they keep that up. No, there's not a single mirror.
Yep.
Yeah, there's not a single mirror that those two, when they're in the scene together, that is not shattered when they're around, and he's always wiping blood off his hands to denote that he smashed it for his brother. He's a man of his word, goddammit.
That's right.
Well, yeah, that is better than anything that John Travolta did in the first Punisher movie, anything that Howard Saint had going on, except for.
How he fucking saying wishes. He was half the fucking man of the actor that Jigsaw was.
Yeah, no, I love Jigsaw. We are split on Looney Bin Jim.
Interesting.
But
much
I
like
will say
that kidneys and applesauce is a delicacy in Sweden.
And then he eats
I want my applesauce back.
It's entirely possible that I'm just so annoyed by the rest of the movie that I'm just like, are we doing this now? So
I want to mention, by the way, Looney Bin Jim is played by Doug Hutchison, who you have probably seen in only one other movie, and it's The Green Mile. Let's be honest here.
Yeah.
But I have a fun historical fact for you about him. Did you know he's a groomer?
Oh.
to make the role even funner.
Shit.
In May 20th, 2011, he married his third spouse, who, when they met, she was only 16 and he was 51, and she joined his acting class. And only 3 years ago did she divorce him and say, like, yeah, he totally groomed me.
Jesus fucking Christ.
And because this was 2011, didn't they get like a reality show or something?
I'm sure they did. I'm
fairly certain. Like, I remember seeing clips of it on The Soup all the time.
Yeah, they were on. Oh my god. Okay. it looks like Couples Therapy, which was a VH1 reality show. They appeared on it. Oh my god, this is a different time, man. Different time.
The only reality show that dude needs to be on is To Catch a Predator.
So,
oh my god,
he goes up to Chris Hansen. He's like, "I'm gonna get my applesauce back." Why don't you just have a seat right there?
Why don't you have a seat right
Why don't you
there?
just have a seat?
what do you have to see right there?
I just came to
Am I going to be arrested? Yeah. I just came to get something to eat. Did you know that Big Macs and fries are a delicacy in America?
So are we not going to watch Shrek 2?
Yeah, I mean, so him being a fucking monster, notwithstanding, I think that they're frankly great in this. They saved this fucking movie as far as I'm concerned. They're so fun. Any scene that they're
only
in,
memorable thing.
oh yeah, they are just incredible. Like they literally steal the show. I'm sorry, like they really steal the show for me. And Marty, he alluded to this earlier. And there's a scene near the end of the film, like the kind of the penultimate scene near the climax, where Jigsaw and Looney Bin Jim, they're like, we need to raise an army to take out the Punisher. We need a freaking army. Huh?
Where are we going to get an army?
And so they go on this whole little montage where they go around to the different like boroughs and start recruiting the gang. So they got the black
streets while they do
and as they're doing it, every time like Jigsaw delivers a speech, there's like a projection of the American flag behind him, and they're clearly doing like a spoof of like Uncle Sam kind of thing, or like a U.S. recruitment thing, because they even, I think prior to that little montage, they literally mention it or like talk about like recruiting from.
We're gonna do what the military does. We're gonna promise them college education that we're not gonna give them. We're gonna give $100K to sacrifice themselves and go to Iraq.
Literally verbatim, they say that.
Yeah.
Why don't you all come down to the Red Lobster with me and sign the next 6 years of your life away, and we'll take down the Punisher?
No, they literally do that.
Like Call of Duty. That boot camp will go by in a flash.
Hey, none of you mooks like Chargers, huh? You like Chargers? I get you a Dodge Charger right now, no API. So it's so good. Like they do this whole little spoof sequence, and he's just like, I think, for the people that look like us, we just want a part of the American pie. Why don't you all sign up with me? We're going to take out the Punisher, huh? So they do this whole thing. It's fucking great. They have the American flag projecting in the background as they're doing this. And my favorite part about it is that they're going around to like, they got the black gang, they got the Chinese gang, they got the Irish gang, and they all have different lighting. Like the brothers all have blue lighting, the Chinese all have red lighting, the Irish of course have green lighting, and it's just so funny. I just love the multiculturalism of him going around all these different boroughs and recruiting these people to have just one big hodgepodge of minority hate crimes that Frank's about to commit.
This film did more for race relations than any superhero film has done in the last 17 years.
Yes, and that includes that extremely dicey ass fucking line that Frank delivers earlier. Like, what the one I'm talking about. So he says as
say it for the viewers, the listeners.
So he goes. Well, I won't say the Muslim one, but he when we meet Carlos, he literally says because he thinks he's a gangbanger or something like that. He thinks he's a crook. So he's about to shoot him, and Newman's like, no, he's good, he's reformed. And then Frank literally says, I've never met a banger that could stop, that could quit. Too stupid. So he says like that. When he says banger, he says that shit with a hard R. Like it blew me the fuck away when I watched this with Andy for the first time. I was like, what the fuck did he just say? Like he's like a banger, and I was like, whoa, easy, Frank, Jesus fucking Christ.
Well, here's the thing.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say any Punisher comics with any nuance or that are actually succeed in the parody fully emphasize that the Punisher is a psychopath and is not like someone to be emulated and is not someone to that could exist in the real world, But the thing is this movie's humor is so off kilter that you just kind of go like, what?
Yeah.
What did you just say?
You know, it's scenes like Nick mentioned that make me think. I'm like, yeah, this did do a lot for race relations, and I can honestly call this is the Italians' Black Panther. This is the film for them.
Hey, freaking Wakanda, huh?
Jigsaw's the Black Panther for them.
Well, on that note, just to finish up that scene again, the recruitment scene is fucking kino. It's amazing. The lighting is fucking perfect. Like I said, I love the American flag in the background while he's delivering it. I love their costumes. Like Jigsaw has this weird like pseudo general outfit on. And at first, before the scene got going, I was like, what the fuck is he wearing? But then like I realized it's supposed to be like a general kind of like invoke that feeling because of the way it's designed. And then I think Marty had mentioned earlier when him and LBJ are marching through the street to the different boroughs, they're like doing like, you know, stiff arm, stiff leg, like kind of walk like a march, like a hut to, like a military thing. It's fucking insane. It's so like loony and cartoony, but it fucking works. I love it. It's probably my favorite scene in this film. It's so good.
Yeah, absolutely. It's my favorite as well. It's such a fantastic scene. And if this film had more scenes like that all around, because like everything, like we say, everything with fucking Looney Bin Jim and Jigsaw makes the movie worth it. It makes the sequences that are dull. It gets you through it. Even your little sidekicks, your little goons sometimes can carry a scene enough to get you to the point. The part where fucking Frank Castle punches that kid's face in is fucking great. And then literally the next time, literally next guy, fucking Budiansky, that boring ass character, is trying to like, you know, fucking arrest one guy. And fucking Frank just points the shot, goes, pow! He goes, God damn it, Castle. That's great. That's good stuff. That's actually
picks
good
up the little girl.
Punisher.
Yeah,
he picks up the little girl who turns into a dummy, and then just blows his face away in a CGI explosion. That's the thing. It's another one of those things where I'm like, if this was more like an exploitation movie, that would be better. Because like in a better movie, they would have Tom Savini'd it, and they would have just filled a dummy's head with like dog food and blown it away with a real shotgun.
Yeah. Well, it's like because like, you know, that sequence, like I do think it works from a comedic perspective, but from a technical perspective, it's a little bit like there's better ways to have done that. To the point where it's like the actor who gets his face blown off, you can see him for like a solid like second, he's just not moving like this, like staring at the gun. Because that way they don't have to do too much tracking on him when they blow the face off.
yeah.
I mean, Well, I mean. Oh, go ahead, Nick.
I was just going to say that just kind of transitions nicely into like, I think 2 topics we can cover, the action and the humor. I just want to say on the humor front, I agree with you for the most part. Like this film is so fucking all over the place. It really falls flat a lot of the times, but then sometimes it gets me. Every time Jigsaw's on the screen, it's great. Every time that they do, not every time, but there are moments just like Marty had mentioned when there are just these weird cuts to like extreme acts of violence that it's like very like, to me it catches me off guard and makes me laugh. So when the goon gets like his face, literal like his face blown off by Frank, but you know, after Officer Booty Cheeks like, you know, tells him to sit down, like that's funny. But then when Newman's mom, who's like a catatonic like, you know, Alzheimer old lady, Frank, when Newman gets captured, Frank returns to their house. I shouldn't be laughing at this, but he returns to their house and he's like, you know, looking for microchip or whatever the fuck his name is in this film. And Newman's mom is there, and then he the camera just kind of pans over to her, and that bitch's face is just, her head is just blown off. It's like a dummy. Like I laughed. I'm ashamed to admit it. I laughed out loud. That shit was so funny. Yeah, it looked great, but I was just like, damn, this old bitch got blown away.
Okay, but then there's also the part where the guy gets blown up with a rocket launcher. We have to mention that.
Speaking of goons in this movie, the fucking cocaine parkour dudes who are on a meth high all the time, fucking great. And the way they go is even better.
Can we talk about this? So this is my next to Jigsaw and LBJ. My second favorite goon in this is the literal black Irishman who runs like a meth head parkour gang. And the character's name in this is Magnity. I don't even know how you pronounce it. How do you pronounce it? McGinty. Yeah. So he's McGinty, and he's played by an actor called named TJ Storm, who's a really dope guy. So you know, without name dropping too much, so I actually met him. I met him at the premiere of the Godzilla -1 showing in the U.S.
I was going to ask, isn't he the guy that did the mocap for Godzilla? Oh my god!
Yes, he does he does a lot of mocap in Hollywood. So like what I found out from him is that like there's not a huge scene when it comes to like mocap actors, just because like it's a small bucket and they're all super talented. They're able to do so much. And I actually took an acting class with him on specifically on mocap. It was a really fun experience. There's so much fucking work that goes into it. Like even as an actor, like myself, I didn't even know like the full extent of it, but he's a super dope guy.
He's got another heroic efforts credit that we can totally do in the future, is that he was uncredited as the mocap actor for Parallax in the Green Lantern film.
Really?
Yeah, uncredited, it says.
Yeah, when Lanterns drops,
Yeah.
that's what we're doing.
We have to talk about that.
Oh god.
Yeah.
But
That's cool.
TJ Storm, he's fantastic in this. He's such a fun and goofy character. Like he, again, much like Dominic West, he knows what film this is. So he's just doing like all this parkour stuntmanship with his like two co-stuntmen. And again, he is a fucking 6'5". He's massive. Like TJ Storm is a massive fucking dude. He's brolic. So this giant like 6'5" dude with dreads and then a fucking gold tooth, and he's doing this like thick ass hammy Irish accent. So he's just like, "Oi, me and me lads, we was just thinking about going down there." He's just like hamming it the way the fuck up, and then how he's killed is amazing. Like Frank blows up one of his homies with a rocket launcher fired from a grenade launcher, weirdly. And then he blows TJ Storm's fucking kneecaps out with his Berettas, and then throws him onto a spiked gate. And then as he's like kind of sitting there, like, squirming in pain and like choking on his own blood, Frank jumps down for no fucking reason. Jumps down and lands on his fucking head and snaps his neck, like as if that was
He's
ever
just
going to
hanging
break
there
his fall. Yeah.
His head is like dangling a full foot below his body.
Yeah, they like elongated his neck with the practical effects. It's pretty good. But yeah, like as far this film has plenty of good goons, and that's always a hallmark of a good heroic effort. But goddamn, I wish the comedy aside from those few gems was a little bit more consistent.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because like this is the exact opposite of The Punisher 2004, and I put this in the notes specifically because I think this will be an interesting conversation. Everything that we complained about in The Punisher 2004 is fixed here. It's just every other element is wrong.
Yes.
So like, it's like they flipped it. So it's
Yeah.
still just as wrong, but in different ways.
Well, complaints about bad CGI and whatnot aside, where it's like, yeah, they didn't have a lot of money, so I gave them a pass on that. But it's like, from a technical perspective, this is very competently made. The action sequences work very well. It's beautifully shot. Their use of lighting in this film is fucking phenomenal. It's very reminiscent of a Joel Schumacher Batman film, but in a good way, where you're just like, fucking bring up the colors. Yeah, sure, that building is just blue, like lit blue, for no reason other than it's aesthetically pleasing. So, from a technical level, the film is very competently made. It nails everything down. It's just that script is not great. The performances are all over the place. The tone does not match at all what they were probably originally planning with a Punisher 2 of what this was supposed to be. It's just every creative thing about it doesn't work. The technical aspects are fucking phenomenally done compared to 2004 Punisher. But it doesn't have any of the sauce of that movie. What works in that film does not work here.
Yes, and the thing is like a great example of this is when they're going to the dead FBI agent's house, which, oh my god, like that plot just drags this thing down like an anchor. Like nobody gives a fuck. Like, because the problem is this Punisher you don't care about, and he's not a good person, and he's not charismatic,
and
so
he smells.
You're just
in a sewer,
and he doesn't wipe his butt, and like no, but so you don't care about him at all, but then they attempt to give him this little emotional arc, and it's like, oh my god, like stop wasting my time. Like there's that stupid scene
trying to give
where
him
he's
an
like
emotional arc, and he encounters the daughter, and then the mom comes out, and she gives like this like minute-long speech, and I'm like, none of these performances are good enough for this. We really shouldn't be focusing this long on this scene.
Well, it's one of those main problems. We talked about this with a lot of movies where either they're chopped up or they're just not written that well, where it's like, who is this person?
Right.
Like when she comes out and she's giving this monologue and stuff.
Introduction dialogue in the film. This is her first dialogue in the movie.
Yeah. Also, like you barely, and so I saw this when I was a kid, and you're not always like paying a ton of attention when you're a kid, but I've watched this again as an adult. You don't even really get that he's an FBI agent. Like, he gets shot, and then it just cuts to the van, and they're like, "Shit, one of our guys is down," or something. Which, I mean, I guess technically gives you that information, but you don't like actually process it because so many people are getting blown away.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, so many people are getting blown away, and when it happens, it's like a split-second thing where he gets shot, and then it would have meant more if you had already known that that's what he was going into the scene, which would make other sequences earlier in the film where he, like, you know, when all the fucking gangsters pull guns out on each other in the fucking mansion, he's like, "Hey, let's all calm down here." Then that would give you the perspective of, okay, yeah, he's a cop. He does not want to get fucking killed.
he goes to the bathroom or something, and he's like, you know, he gets on the thing, and he's like, "I think they're on to me," or whatever. They're like, "No, you're good. Just keep going." Yes, whatever. Just to give you some actual information, just so that he's not coming out from taking a piss and get shot by the Punisher.
Literally blown away after taking a dump.
Yeah, have him on the phone with his wife or something like that, and be like, "One last time, honey." That just something, even if it's cliche, just whatever, so we have that connection. And then the wife's first scene that we actually get to hear her talk is not this over emotional moment where she's given like this monologue that doesn't work because this is the first time we're even interacting with this character. We've seen her in the distance and shit, but never like personally like hearing her talk. And it's me like this breakdown fucking monologue directly at you, and you're like, the writing here is not doing you any favors, man.
Yeah, and they have that stupid ass thing where he's like, "He taught you how to shoot, didn't he? You know that it'll just hit the body armor, so put it towards the head, breathe, pull the trigger." You're like, "Oh my god!" Like, shut up. And then, like, every time it cuts to, like, what you said, Detective Booty Cheeks or whatever his name is, like, when he's in the fucking stupid ass police station, and he has that line where he's like, "You Krispy Kreme motherfuckers," and it's like,
I'm not gonna lie, Krispy Kreme motherfuckers got me.
That's a good line. I like that.
It's only funny because you can put it on this podcast out of context. And you go, "What is going on in this crappy movie?" But, like, it's so there's a lot of things we want to go over with this because it is such a mess. But we've talked about the film's tone, we talked about the violence and all that kind of stuff. I think what really doesn't gel is all the disparate storylines, all the disparate characters that don't interact with each other at all. Like, again, I want to focus on Wayne Knight for just a moment, because what a gem that man is.
What a waste in this.
Yeah, he should be in everything. But the thing is okay, how do you guys feel about Microchip as a character in the Punisher comics? Because he's pretty universally hated, is he not?
I think he is. I don't mind him in the comics at all. I'm like, okay, in the world, like the Punisher Max version, I don't think Microchip really works. In the Marvel Universe version, I think he fits because he is the guy that supplies Frank with all the weaponry and all that cool shit. That doesn't work for a Frank that's like living in a fucking van and is just like, you know, working with a sawed-off shotgun and all that shit. No, it doesn't work. But for a Frank that like is in a Marvel universe, I'm cool with Microchip. And I like the version they did in the Netflix show. I thought it worked pretty well. I like that he was given some emotional reason for what he does. This one is very much just like, "Yeah, I got your weapons, Frank, and my mom is fucking comatose."
Yeah, Newman is just, I mean, he's great. Like, you know, Wayne Knight's always wonderful in everything he's in. But he's very much like just not even a plot device. He's just kind of there. Like, he's the gun guy, you know? That's why when he gets blown the fuck away at the end, it's like, I hate to see Newman go, but like, I don't really give a fuck. You know what I mean?
I mean, the movie's 3 minutes away from being over, so it doesn't even matter. Like, when he's like, "Frank, she's just a kid. Kill me." Oh, they do that stupid ass thing where he's like, "We're gonna kill one of them, Punisher, Castle. We're gonna kill one of them. You have to choose." Like, it's, and then he like shoots Looney Bin Jim, which, I mean, it's stupid. It's
yeah, very, very.
They had no other way to end this movie because they already had the giant shootout throughout the warehouse that's probably just some abandoned building in Canada that they could afford. They have the big bathroom fight with Looney Bin Jim, which is okay. It's you know, I love where Frank kicks down like the obviously super super heavy thick wooden door, and it just slams, like it doesn't even bounce. It's so heavy, and you really feel the heft of it.
Yeah.
And like he kicks him in the nuts. He's like, "Won't be replacing that son of yours anytime soon." Like,
all his little jokes while he was whooping Frank's ass, though, I did enjoy that quite a bit.
Yeah, I enjoyed that aspect.
Yeah.
I will say, speaking on that sequence, it came to mind. I have to randomly put this in there. That whole action sequence at the end is pretty fun, even though I have many critiques of the action in this film overall. That was pretty fun though. The whole sequence, like Frank fucking drops a grenade in a paint can and kicks it at a guy. I love when he busts down like the door, like looking for like somebody, and it's just this comically obese Irish like thug like sitting on the shitter. Yeah, and then he just blows him away. He's just like, God damn it. And then he just like boom, just blows his fucking dome off if he's taking a huge shit. And again, he's like comically obese, like again, a great goon. But like for me, yeah, I just think that the action in this film is very inconsistent. It's I don't know how to put this. Like for me, I like the gore. I like the over the top Tarantino like blood spurts and squibs for the most part. You know, when it's not CGI'd. But the actual choreography of the fights, I'm not a fan of. Up until honest to God, up until the last 20 minutes when we get that the ending sequence and the like kind of big shootout in the warehouse or whatever, or apartment complex, it was not enjoying the action in this. Like the film opens up and like it's kinetic, it's fun, the kills are fun, but the way that they're shot is not. Does that make sense? Like I think that
I can see. I don't have as much of a problem with it, but I can see where you're coming from on that. I think the first opening action sequence I think is my favorite, honestly, just because it is very creative. Yeah, and it's literally the sequence, the only one they plaster all over the trailer. So.
Where he snaps the 75-year-old woman's neck and puts a knife through the skull of the guy in the wheelchair. I look. Oh yeah, there's that part where the guy comes at him with a chair and he kicks it and goes right through his eye.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm trying to articulate this as best I can. I think that the action itself is fun. Like I enjoy all the kills in this film. Like they're fun, but the way that they're shot, it's not shot like an action film to me. It's shot like a slasher. In that like it's a lot of the like the camera techniques. So I may be spoiled by like a lot of modern action movies, but the camera techniques of this film and like Marvel, like I hated this in the Captain America films too. When they do like it's a tight shot and then they do a B kind of thing where you see Frank shoot and then it's a hard cut to like the goon getting blown away instead of it all kind of feeling like a natural flow where you actually see Ray Stevenson like, you know, throw a punch, throw a knife, you know, shoot a gun, like do any kind of actual tempo. It's literally just cut, and to me that's way too frantic.
I feel like that's reminiscent of the time period this came out, because the 2000s was very much dominated by the Bourne style of action editing, where it's like you don't have a kinetic flow of action. It is just, all right, cut to like the punch going, cut to it hitting his face, cut to it doing that, cut to it this, and it's to hide the fact that like you don't really know how to shoot an action sequence. I will argue nowadays I think filmmakers are a lot more attuned to it because they're aware of like, yeah, we don't want to do that because it doesn't look appealing. Nowadays you get a lot more of the free-flowing action. You see like a lot of like these, you see the stunt work taking place, and I mean like even like the fucking Mortal Kombat movie that came out a few years ago, the big critique on that movie, and it was a deserved critique, is that the action sequences weren't as well shot as they should have been because none of the action flowed. They were always cutting away, and that's literally something the filmmaker, the director, literally goes like, "We fixed that in the second one. I didn't know what I was doing there." So it just goes with the time, and you know, this is not to say Lexi Alexander maybe is not a fantastic filmmaker, but you know, there's a reason, you know, a lot of your work is on the CW DC shows. So,
you know,
well, you know, the thing about it is that it's got that weird. Because it's such a baffling movie, it's kind of hard to pin down what is exactly wrong with it.
Yes.
But
I don't even fully blame.
For example,
I'm joking. I don't fully blame Lexi Alexander on this movie. I know a big problem was Lionsgate were creatively like supervising everything, and were trying to take away the edit of the film and just all this other shit. So,
yeah, and they also they shipped her up to Canada and gave her $1,500, probably a small hotel room and a stick of gum to shoot this movie with. You know, like this movie is, you know, it's so low budget and in a way that doesn't really work.
After Jonathan Hensley dropped out, there was another director that was supposed to do this named John Dahl, who has not done anything since 2007. This was like the last movie he was going to do. And the only reason he declined was citing a bad script and lack of budget. And lo and behold, and
Lexi Alexander is like, "Hold my beer."
And look, to their credit, like I think Marty had mentioned this earlier. Like this film, on a technical level, choreography for the fights notwithstanding, is done like I think pretty fucking great. Like it's pretty amazing to me.
The set design is great. The color is great. The use of
They
lighting
nail
is
it.
great.
The aesthetics, they nail it, dude. Like that was one of my biggest critiques of the last film. Was like this shit looks boring, but this film is like, honest to God, like it's for what it is, beautiful. Like
It does actually look like a comic book.
Yeah, Andy had mentioned earlier, like this is very Schumacher coded, but like because the colors just pop. There's so many I think pretty great shots, like when the cops are in the car and they have Frank locked up in the back, and you get these like brilliant like violets with like hints of orange, like kind of reflecting off their faces. It just gives every scene a fucking mood to it. It's beautifully done. Honestly, the cinematography and the lighting on this are probably the strongest parts of this film to me. To be like completely honest with you. If the best characters are Jigsaw and LBJ, then the other hero of this film is again not Frank. It's the cinematography and the lighting in this.
Yes.
And we should also say that on heroic efforts, 9 times out of 10, comparing something to Joel Schumacher is a huge compliment.
Yes,
dear
viewers,
good thing.
It's a huge compliment. Yes, these are all compliments. I haven't really found a way to weave this into the conversation yet, but that fucking scene where they're going into the FBI agent's house and it just jump cuts to them going further and further up the stairs. That to me is like the encapsulation of this movie, where I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? You know?
Yes, but also it has that part where fucking LVJ shoots the dolls with a handgun for no reason, just because they're pissed.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's the thing, is it's like it's trying to be edgy, and they have those lines where he's like, "Would you also like to swear on an imaginary friend?" Or where he goes like, "Oh, was that your dead husband's birthday?" Like, it's it's so
stuff.
edgy that
I love that.
Is that
I agree with Andy. Like those moments are like, they're pretty cringe and corny as hell.
Yeah.
But I also agree with Marty in that, like when LBJ's blowing the dolls' heads off, or like with literally that whole sequence in the house when like I think LBJ starts throwing the fine china out the cabinet, and then Jigsaw comes by, and then he grabs a plate, slams it, and literally turns back to the camera and starts laughing. He's like, like when they're doing goofy shit like that, like they're having a ball. You know what I mean? Like when Hutchison and West are like just doing their thing, it's great. But I think I agree with you that the tonality of this film is all over the fucking place. I do think that they get a lot closer to, in my opinion, to like the feel of a Garth Ennis comic. Obviously not executed nearly as well, but I think they get the tone a lot better than the Thomas Jane one, where that one Frank was like too much of a fucking teddy bear. Like, honestly, God, I forgot to mention on that episode, but like that film I think would have worked a lot better if it was about Hitman, Garth Ennis's like DC kind of superpower equivalent to like Punisher. I think it might have worked a little bit better if it was that character, because it's a little bit more goofy and lighthearted. But this, I think, has the absurd violence, and it has the goofy like side goons. It's just missing a Frank that I think fits for it to like really kind of nail it. And that's where it all falls apart, and that's why it doesn't feel like as good or well written as like the Garth Ennis comics are, because you're missing that central pillar of Frank himself.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, it's 100%. You're completely right. I think the biggest problem. It was funny because when I watched this as a kid, I was super into this movie, and I was into the first Punisher movie too. But I remember watching this movie, I go like, "Oh, this is what the Spawn reboot needs to be." And now that I'm an adult, I'm like, "Oh, this is probably what the Spawn reboot is going to be." It's the same sentence, just with different inflections. It's like, oh no. I mean, if we want to transition into the reception to this film, I think that really can kind of break down why this didn't connect with people. Sure. One of the most important.
Do you want to know the weird thing about this? Is that this is technically like the best reviewed Punisher film, because they're all horribly reviewed.
Well, okay, the Punisher is always going to be a divisive character.
Yes.
Because any kind of ultra-violent, non-comedic, and we've just talked about this film's humor, but I'm just talking about the character overall, non-comedic, ultra-violent revenge movie that isn't like winking in the camera and being like, well, that just happened, is going to get really poorly reviewed in today's modern cinematic landscape. Oh, it's too violent. Oh, it's too brutal. It's too mean. Which is a criticism of this movie that is valid. Sure. But it's sort of it's like, and film quality is like notwithstanding. But like Rambo doesn't really work anymore. sort of those ultra-violent 80s characters don't quite land. That's not to say they can't work. It's just I don't think the general public is really into that. And I think this is the Punisher is a character that's always going to alienate a certain amount of the audience just from the sheer unpleasantness of the movie. The problem is none of these movies are good enough to overcome that.
Yes.
I think I kind of agree with you. Like I get what you're saying. Like I don't know if you can do like a like a Death Wish kind of thing, like Charles Bronson type character. I don't know if you can do like a Punisher at his most reactionary. The reason I kind of struggle with the point you made is because like we do have John Bernthal's Punisher,
which is my favorite Punisher. It is the best in my opinion. So that is, but that's not very well reviewed. Like for a Marvel production, it's like it's okay reviewed.
Yeah.
So I was also gonna say like I don't know, like how do you and I'm not saying this as like a gotcha, I'm just throwing it out there as a genuine question. Like how do you kind of square that then with Monkey Man or like John Wick, where it's like, aside from those just being, I think, infinitely better films overall and also as action films, but like how do you square that then? Like do you think it's the audience don't really respond to characters that commit violence, or is it this specific kind of archetype of like a Frank, like what that kind of reactionary character is?
That's easy. I have an answer for that already for both.
Okay.
Nobody saw Monkey Man, and John Wick has Keanu Reeves.
Damn. Okay.
Well,
and I was and just to add on to that point, the John Wick movies are.
I love Monkey Man, but nobody saw that fucking movie.
Yeah, and just to add on to that point, the John Wick movies are infinitely better than this.
Yes,
so it doesn't mean that they're not willing to accept it. It's just those movies have to be of a certain quality because the audience is not going to be as forgiving.
And I will argue the action in John Wick, I think, is fun. So
that's
what helps it a lot. Is that there's unsettling moments or moments of brutality, but the overall action is like, holy fuck, like that just happened, holy shit,
Okay, I can see that. Okay.
A Punisher movie I would think it would be a huge mistake to make a Punisher movie in the vein of John Wick. That would be a big mistake to me.
Yeah.
Because I don't think you need those super hyper violent, and by that I mean like stylized violence in the Punisher. Again, Nick, as you brought up, the Death Wish, not just because it's the exact same story, just without the skull. Death Wish is the prototype that you need to follow. And that is what Jonathan Hensley was trying to do. It's just that script is and tone is just not all there.
And again, like I brought up in the last episode as well, and this is why I feel like the Bernthal Punisher gets it well, is that the action in it is gross and disturbing typically. There are hype moments in it, though, that make it kind of fun, where you're just like, oh, what makes it worthwhile to watch fucking Jigsaw pre-mutilation get his head slammed into the fucking glass and dragged down repeatedly is that you've grown to hate this character as the season progresses. You're aware of how fucking horrible he is and all the shit that he's done. What makes it worth it in a cheer moment, it's disturbing, but what makes it a cheer moment when he's fucking gouging out the eyes of like the military commander that Frank answered to, is that this is a terrible person who deserves it. That's what makes it worthwhile. In these movies, of course, they're terrible people, but I don't think they. What's the best way to say this? I just don't think it's warranted on it. Well, not warranted, of course, but it's
the best way to say it is.
Doesn't feel earned.
In this movie, they're cartoon characters, and in the first one, they're John Travolta.
Exactly.
That's why it's not that satisfying.
They're missing the well-rounded characters, or just like the ones that you like absolutely fucking hate. And it's ironic too, because in this movie, I mean, like the characters that you like have a good time with that are the villains, of course. It's like they get like the lamest deaths in the whole movie.
Yeah, like it's I gotta speak on that real quick. Like again, very anticlimactic because as Andy mentioned earlier, we have like a I think a pretty fun action sequence between LBJ and Frank in the bathroom. And then he like scuttles off, like OJ gets away, and then he dies by just getting domed, and like we make no comment on it. And then Jigsaw gets like speared through his side and then put onto a fire and burns.
And it has the line that
he gets thrown into the CGI fire from Spawn.
Yes.
His tank gets burned off.
His face kind of looks like the face of the devil at the end of Ghost Rider 2, where it's like, And I think he's trying to say like he's gonna go to hell or whatever, but
Frank literally tells him
where he goes like, "This is only the beginning." Like I'm like, that's a horrible fucking, that's a horrible zinger line. Like, don't use that.
Well, it's also immediate line preceding it is horrible too, where he says like, "Let me put you out of my misery."
It's very fucking whack, dude.
I mean, you're kind of looking at this and you're like, wait, I didn't realize I had put in the Bruce Willis Death Wish movie. Death Wish remake. Sorry, did I put in the wrong disc? Did it skip? I'm pretty sure that was a Lionsgate movie too.
I think
Yes, I think they all made those geezer teasers with Bruce Willis.
Yeah, dude, this is 100% an ominous omen of what was to come with teaser. This is 100%. It's that first Expendables movie where they use all the CGI blood, and they fucking waste all these great actors. And then there was a little bit of hope when The Last Stand and Bullet to the Head came out in 2013, because those are both pretty good. But then there's that same, Winter had A Good Day to Die Hard, and then like Expendables 2 came out that year, I believe. And again, then Escape Plan, yeah. Where the Passion of the Christ Jesus is the villain, Jim Caviezel's the villain. Your time is up. I still remember that from the trailer. But yes, and then just
why does he sound like Malcolm McDowell? Your time is up.
That's an inside joke because I do a pretty mean Malcolm McDowell impression, but that's beside the point. The preceding or in the following decade, it was just an wave after wave of crappy red box geezer teaser where Nicolas Cage or Bruce Willis or John Travolta or whoever were starring in these crap. Yeah, crap ass movies. I mean, we don't have to talk about it because Red Letter Media has already done 2 excellent videos on it. Just look those up. But yes, this is very much. I don't want to put it quite in the category of the geezer teasers because it is more. Yes, it's more authentic than that, but it's promising you like this action or this tone or this grit or whatever, and it's a lie.
Yes,
they're lying to you. You look at the posters for this. They are. But you look at the posters for this, and it's awesome Tim Bradstreet basically looking art, and Ray Stevenson looks so good. But then you watch it, and it just. They took your money and ran. There's nothing there. It's like one of those shit pulp novels with a great cover. Yeah, It's
I think you nailed it on the head, dude. That was even though again, nobody fucking saw this film when it came out, including me. But now that we're kind of put in that cultural context, it's insane how much of a bad omen this was. And because I remember I have vivid nightmares about that decade of time where we just got the shittiest action films, if you can even call them that.
Was in the gutter,
dude. We came out of the last actual films of the early aughts, and then we got into the 2010s, and it was just the blandest looking dog shit film, dog shit choreographed. This is the rise of the CGI blood and not enough squibs. It was just dog shit. I hated this period. It was for a long time. I wouldn't even want to watch action films because I'm like, oh, the genre is cooked. You know what I mean? We can't make good action films anymore.
This is why the superhero genre took over in the 2010s, because there were very few good actual action films. So you're like, this is the best I can get.
Again, terrible.
Well, if we're going to talk about one good action movie from that era, I think we can directly compare this to in what this should have been, which is 2012's Dredd. That has a pitch perfect sense of humor. It looks great. It's cheap as hell. It's a cheap ass movie, but it looks great. The action is fantastic. It knows where to spend its money. And again, it has sort of this wooden or unchanging protagonist, but unlike this movie, it manages to have people in his orbit that you care about and also want to follow, and have a bunch of grotesque villains that you like seeing blown away. Dredd is the absolute best case scenario, what Punisher Warzone should have been.
Yes,
absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. Dredd fucking rocks.
Yeah. Yes.
Just go watch Dredd instead. Dredd is a far better film.
Literally, Save your fucking time.
And I say this to someone who, at the end of the day, after all of we talked about, I still like this movie. I think it's okay. I think it's a fine Punisher, fucking trailer trash film. I get
It's
they had
fun.
no money, so I'm okay with it. I can like it for the performances from West and Hutchison. They kind of make it for me. And also, I can't look over the fact that, like, yeah, as a teenager, man, I fucking watched this shit probably 10 times in my life already, or over 10 times. So there was something that resonated with me enough as a teenager, and I'm sure part of it was just the edgy coolness and all the blood and all that fun shit. But, you know, as a discerning adult that starts to be like, it's not really as good as I remember it, you start to notice, like, Ray Stevenson is like, oh, he's not very good in this, unfortunately. But there's something about it where it resonated with me enough at the time, and I think even now it's like, I can see myself watching this again. This is not like a... what is it? Like, I haven't watched the film, but this is not a Steel situation where I'm like, I never want to watch that film ever. Although Andy has been doing his damnedest to try and make me watch that movie.
Oh, the Shaq one?
Yes.
Yeah. You know what, I'm going to go out on a limb, say something controversial.
Oh, no.
Steel might be a little better than this.
I'm going to leave the
Because when I saw Steel, I was like, this is bad, but this is not as bad as I thought it was going to be. You know, but we're digressing for sure. To sort of wrap this up,
let's just say Marvel Knights was far better off with Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance.
That's exactly what I wanted to bring up. There's 2 Marvel Knights movies, this and Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance. And what a waste of a potential imprint where you could have done these weird, kind of goofy, way more adult, yeah, they're edgy, but you're having fun, kind of exploitation movie throwbacks with Marvel characters that got semi-successful movies in the early 2000s. Like, we should have gotten... Yes, we should have gotten a Marvel Knights Daredevil movie.
Which was probably going to be what they were going to do with, what's-his-face, directing Joe Carnahan. Yes.
Yeah. Damn it. Exactly. There should have been after Blade Trinity kind of, killed everything for a while, we should have gotten, like, a Marvel Knights Blade movie in, like, 2010 or 2011. Yeah. I would have loved to have seen a Marvel Knights Man-Thing movie. Go ahead, call it giant-sized Man-Thing. I don't care. Whatever didn't work when you tried to make it for a mainstream audience, you do, like, sort of a semi-follow-up, semi-reboot, semi-sequel that just does not try to appeal to the general audience, but does hearken closer to the character as it stands. That's all I'm saying.
Stop it, because you're only reminding me, again, to go back to our last episode, Adi Shankar's Bootleg Universe. If we lived in the good timeline and we could have given him, like, reign of, like, Marvel Max and just do all of those kind of, like, films, whether it's the Eddie Brock one or his Thomas Jane Punisher one, just let him, like, just give him, like, the same budget as this film, because honestly, I mean, look, seeing what they did with this, at least from a technical standpoint, they knew where to spend the resources. I'll give them that. So if they could have given, like, the similar size budgets to all these other properties and all these other characters that up until then were not really that well known, but just let them do, like, insane, like, fucked up or fun off kilter kind of movie, like, gritty in the muck kind of films, I think it would have been incredible, and we could have had this parallel between Marvel doing its bullshit MCU stuff and then also, like, the real movies, the fun stuff and the slop, for all the real sickos.
Well, the thing is the closest we've gotten to that is the Marvel Netflix shows, which did this more, what we're talking about, it did it more successfully than Marvel Knights because they got more than 2 things out, and also they're better. The thing is they have the exact opposite problem of Marvel Knights, where Marvel Knights, cheap as hell, shot in Bulgaria, shot in Canada, only 1 movie star is in the whole thing. The tones are off, whatever. But the Marvel Netflix shows have the exact opposite problem, where they're bloated budgets, overly produced, overly long, overly self-serious, waste of a tone and actor,
Yes, that's usually typically the problem with those shows. And I still agree with you, though, that, like, they did the premise a lot better, even with that, with the handicap of, like, they had to be forced into 13-episode seasons, even if the story never warranted it.
Yes. Yeah, and the closest we've got, honestly, is, this doesn't count at all, but whether it's Deadpool or Logan or Venom, and I'm not putting all these on the same level of how good they are, but like Deadpool, Logan, Venom, Legion on TV, that's kind of what we're talking about.
Yes.
You know?
Thank you, The Batman and Joker 1 and 2. And the fact that we're getting a Clayface movie pretty soon, like I'm
and Sergeant Rock.
And Sergeant Rock, you know.
And Lobo.
And Lobo. We better be fucking getting a Lobo movie. I'm grateful. Maybe that'll hey, you know, they already announced that they're gonna be doing apparently a Punisher like spotlight thing which is what they did with Werewolf by Night. So I feel like, hey, the future's looking pretty bright. And we got over the longest gap between Punisher material ever since at least Punisher 1989 to 2004. Because after 2004, we got fucking Warzone in 2008, fucking Dirty Laundry in 2012, the Netflix appearance in 2016 in Daredevil, then the Netflix shows, and then those got canceled in 2019, and you had to wait 6 fucking years for that character to come back. So...
Isn't it kind of weird how much the Punisher's been adapted, given how nobody likes anything he's ever been in?
Yeah, I'm saying, dude.
You know, I was gonna say, like, man, like they, you know, friggin'
he got the
movie
cheeks that Spawn don't.
I was gonna say, well, yes, well, yeah, but like movie executives must just be like on the freeways in LA a lot, and they just see that skull on the bumper of like a lot of off-duty cops, and they're like, well, this is going to be popular. Yeah, like no, like the people that appropriate that skull aren't going to show up for what you make. Like,
yeah, they see enough of the thin blue line going through the skull, they're just like, I guess there's an audience, you know. When that guy gets done, when that officer gets back from the beating the wife factory, when he's done clocking in there, then maybe he'll watch this.
But what are they going to watch between God's Not Dead, Reagan, and Sound of Freedom? Like when all of those are out of theaters. We got the Punisher.
Well, look, now's the perfect time. Look, Yellowstone's coming to an end, so all those guys need to watch something. So it's coming to an end. They got to re-up on that Punisher.
They got to film a weird commercial with Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey talking about filming in Texas. And then for whatever reason,
doing crypto shit.
Fucking Dennis Quaid's in the back seat. So,
you know what? Like
go ahead.
Oh, keep going, Gene. No, keep going, Martin.
I'm point that I want to bring up before we go.
Oh, I was just going to say, Martin did bring up a great point. The future is looking bright because it looks like they're finally going to do what the Punisher needs, which is a standalone special that's not a movie, not a TV show, just an hour-long little contained story, essentially just a, like, Dirty Laundry with an actual budget. Hopefully that's what this is. Because Werewolf by Night was very good.
Werewolf by Night was very good, and from the way this is being described, as Bernthal has said himself, it is a quick shotgun blast of a story. So that immediately is like, okay, cool. We're not going to fucking dick around here, and it's not going to be universe setup and all this. It's just going to be a cool fucking dirty Punisher story. So
Frank shows up, kills a Puerto Rican, end of it.
What more do you want? You know, honestly. But I just wanted to bring up stuff. We kind of lightly touched on, like, of course this film failed because of quality purposes, of course, but also, like, to understand, like, I always love bringing this up because I'm like, man, box office has changed. This movie made $10 million on a $33 million budget. It is like, it was up to this point, I mean, like, I would say it was the biggest bomb of the superhero revival period in the 2000s. Like, nothing bombed as hard as this did. I can't, the Man-Thing movie, I don't
Jonah Hex, maybe?
Jonah Hex, yeah, but that was after this, so
yeah,
up to this point at least. So the Man-Thing movie I don't count because it was a DVD-only Sci-Fi Channel movie. Elektra made more money than this. Like, this was a huge fucking bomb.
Damn.
And
yeah,
looking around at like what was coming out at that time, I'm like, oh, that's why. Let's go down the list, everybody. I have them all pulled up. 4 Christmases.
He's got the receipts.
I got the receipts. 4 Christmases, a comedy fucking holiday movie, made $165 million. Twilight made $407 million. Bolt made $309 million. Quantum of Solace made $589 million. Australia, which is a Baz Luhrmann movie that nobody saw, made $211 million. Madagascar 2 made $600 million. Transporter 3, which is also a Lionsgate movie, which they released 1 week before this, made $108 million.
But it's a banger. Okay, I'm sorry.
The Day the Earth Stood Still made $233 million. Yes Man, a fucking Jim Carrey comedy in the 2000s, made $223 million. 7 Pounds, a Will Smith drama, made $170 million. Marley and Me made $255 million. I Have More. Bedtime Stories made over $200 million. The Curious Case of Benjamin Button made $335 million. I got 7 more. Gran Torino made $270 million. Paul Blart Mall Cop made $183 million. My Bloody Valentine made $100 million. Fucking Underworld 3 made $92 million. Taken made $226 million. And finally, Role Models, which made $92 million. That all released in like a 2-month period where this film would be playing. They were fucked.
Yo, all of that came out right after this film?
Yeah, and from the week before to like the end of January. And this came out December 4th. So
that's fucking insane.
They were fucked.
They literally sent this film out to die.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, because again, this is one of those things where if it was 10 years later, it would have been a New Mutant situation where they would have just sat on it for like 4 years before they're like, okay, there's a streaming service that we could sell this to for $1 above what we paid for it.
Oh, there's a there's a huge pandemic happening. Let's just dump it in fucking drive-ins. So whatever we make on it, whatever. Yeah. It's not our money.
I would have been watching this while I was fucking.
Yeah, I'm gonna get my applesauce back.
Yummy, yummy, yummy in my tummy.
And then I don't get to have sex.
And I'm gonna ask: did anybody play the Punisher tie-in video game that came out when this movie did? Did you even
Punisher No Mercy?
Did you know about that?
I didn't.
Yeah, it's like a first-person Punisher game,
and it's like fucking cel-shaded and shit. It was pretty fucking cool. It was like multiplayer specific, but they had like 6 levels or whatever that you could play through. It was kind of cool. It also was only available for like 2 years because that's when the Marvel license expired. So, but
damn,
well,
you know about this.
You can still get the PS2 Punisher game where that's a sequel to the original movie where Thomas Jane reprises his role. There is that.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah,
get that.
I have to ask though, why would I play the Punisher game when Max Payne is right there?
That's very true. Hey, guess what came out the month before this movie did? Max Payne.
Wait, the Marky Mark one?
Yes.
Fuck me, dude. We might have to cover that one. That one's an insane piece of shit. Like we have to.
Oh yeah.
Talk about that. It sucks so much dick, but like it's. I don't know. It might be fun.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is that in the Punisher No Mercy game, you could play as Barracuda, Bushwhacker, Jigsaw, Silver Sable, Microchip, and then like 3 like fucking nothing mafia characters.
You can play as Newman?
You can play as Newman.
Wait, did you play as the Punisher, or was he just like around?
No, Punisher was the main playable character, but in multiplayer, once you finish the story mode, you got all those characters that you could play as your skin or whatever. So, and then they had fucking Nick Fury and Black Widow in it, but they weren't playable characters; they were just enemies you fought.
Because you say cel-shaded Punisher game, and that is immediately catching my interest.
It's not very good, but
it sounds kind of dope. The only Punisher game I'm aware of is and Capcom recently brought this back. There's a beat 'em up. Capcom actually made a beat 'em up game where you play as the Punisher and Nick Fury, and they brought it back in the Fighting Collection.
The Fighting Collection. That's right. Yeah. Maybe it wasn't cel shaded. Maybe I'm fucking stupid. I think I am. It's not cel shaded. I'm sorry. It's crappy, like late 2000s PS3 graphics. But
my interest is lost. I'll just play Watchmen the end of the night.
But on the flip side, you do get to use the gun that he uses in the finale of this movie, so that's cool. That little
his like platform gun where it's just like a bunch of different parts put together.
Yeah. Okay. So there's that. So what a fucking tragedy this movie is.
Yeah. Well, you know what? It has developed a cult following. It's one of those ones where it's bad, but I'm not insulted by it. Yeah. And I find myself returning to it. Maybe just because I saw it at a formative age, but it's not like unbearable. You can put it on at a birthday party, as I have done.
Yeah, that's the first time I saw it. In fact.
I know what you do at your birthday parties, you bastard. You just make
You
people
sick
watch
fuck.
shitty movies, you bastard.
You sick
I know.
man.
You're like, oh
I know.
boy, a Dracula 3D.
Yeah, Andy puts on a Jigsaw mask. Not like Jigsaw in this, but Jigsaw like in Saw.
Also,
and
Lionsgate
he's just
property.
yeah. And he's just like, what shitty film are we going to watch today, boys? And then he just straps a fucking bear trap to my nuts as I'm watching, like, you know, some godforsaken superhero film from, like, you know, 1998.
You're gonna take a ride on Satan's carousel today.
Yeah. Yeah, Nick shows up and I'm just like, have you ever heard of the original Spider-Man live action show?
Yeah.
Like, I gotta go.
Yeah,
but
I'm
but
just
joke's on
strapped.
you. Somebody's already boxed you in by parking behind you in my driveway.
Yeah. Next thing I know, I'm like strapped to some fucking medieval device with like a ballista with like a fucking dildo, you know, attached to the tip, and it's just aimed right at my ass, and it's just like, all right, you have to make it through not 1, not 3, but 5 of the original Hulk TV show episodes. I'm just screaming my head off.
I can.
Dude, that would be quite easy to do. That's a good show.
He's just da 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 da. Nick's just like, no.
You
Hey, you know
can't
what? We're laughing, but we got a whole fucking podcast out of those birthday parties. So
Fair enough. We made something good out of it.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
But anyway, and that's the purpose of this podcast, is to make something good out of it. And this is truly a heroic effort,
Yeah.
whether it's on the part of the filmmakers or us for sitting through it. That's up to you, dear audience, to decide. But thank you once again for joining us on yet another episode. Nick, do you want to take us away?
Yes, sir. As Andy mentioned, thank you so much for you know, being punished and sitting through this whole episode with us. For those that are still with us, and as always, you can find me and the boys at No More Talking Productions on Twitter and Instagram. But you can find my boy Andy at
_super guy on Instagram and Twitter.
and of course Mr. Marty. You can find him at
Only McFisherman on Twitter and Instagram.
and you can find me at Nick Talamante and Monte Nicks on Twitter and Instagram, respectively. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank you so much for joining us for another heroic effort. We hope you tune in next time for more, and stay tuned because season 2 we're on and rocking, and we're excited for what we're going to bring next. So until then, take care.
And to leave off on that, I have 2 notes to just say. Number 1, this is far from the worst movie we've talked about in this fucking show, but also,
And it would roll in the street, and a truck would squish it.
goodbye, everyone.
Jigsaw!